To open the session formally, may I invite Professor Maria Bindu to deliver the welcome address. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Benedicta. Good evening and warm welcome to everyone gathered here for this sixth and final day enlightening session. As we are in the final day, I would like to begin the session with a small evening quote. Every sunset brings the promise of a new dawn, and this evening marks the beginning of something wonderful. First and foremost, I take immense pride in welcoming our distinguished resource person, Dr. J.S. Rogan Savarimuthu, Senior Lecturer, Department of Language and Communication, Eastern University, Sri Lanka. Sir, we are deeply honored by your gracious presence. Your expertise and scholarly insights will certainly enrich our understanding of translation as both an art and a philosophy. Hearty welcome, sir. I extend my heartfelt welcome to our respected head of the department and the distinguished academicians joining us from across the country whose active participation has made this FDP a meaningful and memorable journey. My sincere welcome to all and my dear colleagues. As we begin this session, let us open our minds to new interpretations and the rich textures of meaning that translation unveils. Once again, I welcome all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I invite Dr. V. Rani Priyadarshini to introduce our distinguished resource person for today. Ma'am, please.
Thank you. A very good evening to the galaxy of intellectuals. It gives me immense pleasure and a sense of privilege to introduce a scholar whose brilliance transcends borders and disciplines, Dr. J. S. Rohan Sabarimuthu, a name that resonates with intellectual depth, academic versatility, and humanistic vision. Dr. Sabarimuthu presently serves as a senior lecturer, grade 1 in the Department of Languages and Communication Studies at the Eastern University, Sri Lanka. Born in Belgium to the Tamil Jaffna Tamil community, he has truly had the world as his classroom. His journey from the corridors of European education the vibrant academic spaces of India and Sri Lanka is a testament to his boundless curiosity and cosmopolitan spirit. He holds a BA and MA in English Literature from the American College. A man of letters in every sense, Dr. Savarimuthu holds degrees spanning English Literature, Philosophy and Religion, Counseling and Psychotherapy, and crowned his academic pursuit with a doctorate on C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia, viewed through the prism of hermeneutics. His research interests weave together a rich tapestry of literary theory, post-colonialism, gender studies, eco-criticism, and peace studies, each strand reflecting a mind that refuses to be confined by convention. As an academician, author, and social visionary, Dr. Savarimuthu wears many hats with equal grace. He has been the guiding light behind numerous literary and cultural initiatives and serves as the honorary president of the Youth for Development Center in, uh, I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it right or not, Kilinoshi. Sir may correct it probably. His association with the Ekta Parishad, a Gandhian movement in India, reflects his deep commitment to peace and nonviolence ideals he not only teaches but lives by. Dr. Sabarimuthu has penned thought-provoking works on literary theory and usage, and his research papers have found a place in reputed journals across the globe. His lectures delivered across Sri Lanka and India have the rare quality of setting minds alight, blending scholarship with soul and intellect with imagination. In a world that often divides knowledge into silos, Dr. Savarimuthu stands as a bridge builder, one who brings together literature and life, theory and empathy, intellect and integrity. His journey reminds us that learning is not a destination, but a lifelong pilgrimage of the mind. We are truly honored to have you here with us today, sir. With eager hearts and attentive minds, we now await your enlightening address. So, dear participants, please join me in warmly welcoming our distinguished resource person, Dr. J.S. Rogan Savilmuthu. Now, the stage is yours, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rani, for this wonderful introduction. I think, you have told many lies because I'm not that great. I'm just a small, tiny person.
Sir, excuse me. Ilma sir has raised his hand. 1 minute, sir.
Begin.
Sorry, sir, sorry. Yango sir. Yango sir. Good evening, sir. Can you hear us? Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Okay. And I'm very much humbled in the presence of my teacher, Professor N. Elango, who is here with us. And from this part of the country, Sri Lanka, where translation is almost the life breath of this country, since even though we believe, on documents we tend to say that English is a second language or a linked language, but in reality, vital importance is given to Tamil and Sinhala, even in the judiciary system. Therefore, in Sri Lanka, translation plays a heavy role. So even government officials rely on translators, and they have a category called swarm translators. So Sri Lanka is a country that is footed in translation, and I was very happy when the opportunity was given to me to deal with translation, even though I am just a small child in this area of translation and translation studies. The topic that I have chosen today is the philosophy of translation: text, context, and texture in creating meaning. In fact, after having chosen this title, I even wanted to make a change with regard to the subtitle, rather than deleting creating and substituting it with detecting, because meaning is already there and we cannot create, rather we have to detect the right meaning. So it's almost like detective fiction. So my dear learned members, I am happy to address you all at this faculty development program, and I really thank Professor Rani for giving such a wonderful introduction. Please don't take it very serious because it's not true. I'm just a normal person like you are, and struggling with my life, trying to make my life a little valid. And since we have professional translators, teachers of translation course, and people who are training the young minds in the field, in the art of translation studies, I am not going to venture into discussing something that has been already established and accepted. I'm not going to discuss with regard to the problems. I'm not going to discuss with regard to already available material. So I thought that I should try something new. Now, why did I get this spark that I wanted to do something new? Now, I was reading the Bible. I mean, translation as such started with the codex and all those stuffs. And in the book of Revelations, you have the four horses, the black, the white, the green, and the red. So I was just going through flags, and I was shocked to find that almost most of the Islamic countries, their flags have all these four colors. So, and John, the Apostle John, who had the vision and who wrote the book of Revelations, talks about stars raining down on earth. But when we are witnessing today's warfare, maybe he did not see the real stars, but it was the bombs, the missiles, the drone attacks that we are especially specialized now, and maybe he had seen that in his vision, but he didn't have the language, and he had to use something that was already available, and he has written it as stars raining down on earth. This interpretation holds a little validity when he talks about grasshoppers that spit fire and whose hair is equated to the hair of a mad woman, and the sound is equated to 1,000 horses galloping fast. So those days, they did not have the word, they did not have the means to know these things, but then their vision was real, but then they did not have the language to communicate that vision. So they had to use another language. So it is in this sense, it is with this, background that I thought of dealing with the philosophy of translation. So I hope that this little talk of mine will kindle many to do research and further studies. Even though generally speaking, translation is from one language to another, making many to believe that it is only relevant to transfer from one code to another code. In reality, I believe translation happens within every person in transferring their feelings, thoughts, and ideas into the already available structure, which you call it language, and this is done unconsciously. Now, I remember I was living in Arasaradi in Madurai in TTS, and we have the feminist Gabrielle Dietrich, madam. So I was there at their home, and their daughter Karuna was there, and auntie was asking her daughter, Karuna, how much do you love me? And she simply held her mom and gave her a kiss. That's it, a hug. Thinking now, we do not possess language which can communicate or which can codify everything. Our language that we use is a handicapped language. Most of you might not accept this view, but then let me give you another example. In the Bible, God goes to meet Moses. I mean, no, Moses goes to meet God on the Mount Sinai. And, you have the burning bush. And when Moses asks God for his name, God only tells his name as, I am that I am. Now we are bothered. Why doesn't God have a name? Then he says, I am the God of so and so and so. But God is unable to tell his name, a proper name. Now this made me to think, and I came to a conclusion that even the so-called concrete proper names are elusives, are arbitraries in nature. We use a name to identify and differentiate. God is so concrete that he is unable to express his concreteness through an arbitrary code. So, all these issues prompted me to think about the philosophy of translation. So, translation happens within every person, but it is unconscious. We have ideas, we have forms which we try to put into a syntactic semantic form that has been already established. In this sense, we can say that translation is also structured unconsciously. If I might be allowed to rephrase, Shak Lagan, meaning that a translation is done without mechanically remembering all the rules of the game, and it only looks like an original work. The art of a good translation. Now, the same thought is expressed in the ancient Greek mythology about the sacred messenger Hermas. Now, in the introduction, Professor already said that I did my PhD on hermeneutics and C.S. Lewis. Now, I can't skip. I'm destined to use it. So Hermas' duty was to listen to Zeus, who spoke in a heavenly language, and his duty was to reveal the message of Zeus to the human beings using human language. Now, it is believed that Hermas had profound skills in both the languages of the gods and the language of the human beings, a fathomless understanding about the intricacies of both the languages. So, the languages of gods and the languages of humans, a fathomless understanding. Now, this is very tough because the language of God is so concrete, and the language that we human beings are using is arbitrary in nature. I hope I don't need to get into this concept of sign, signified and signify and stuff like that, and how even dictionary is where you find a sign pointing to another sign, which is an endless chain of pointers. So, what does Hermas do? He converts, or he convert the ideas or he convert God's or Zeus's ideas into the ideas of human language. Now, this is something very tough. Thus, Hermas had to translate as well as interpret the ideas delivered by the gods to the humans through the language of the humans. Now, in order to do this, it is widely believed that Hermas would put forth several questions to Zeus in order to enhance his own clarity of the message, since he would have to find the right word to communicate the message to the Greeks without any misunderstanding on the part of the listeners. Now, here, the message or the content is attributed with prime importance than the language. But this does not mean that Hermas could have bent the language according to his wishes, since he was forced to deliver the message using the already existing words and rules of the language. And thus, in order to get the message across, a symbolic language had to be opted. This is also true with regard to the writing of the Bible, or true to Mahabharatam, or true to Ramayana. It is true to all texts which you call as myth. They don't speak lies, they speak the truth, but then with a different language. Because at that time, they did not have the words for the things that are present now. They had limited vocabulary, they had limited language structure, and using this limited vocabulary and language structure, they were forced to deliver their message. So we should understand that it is with this context, things of the past were written, and therefore no one can claim it false. This is a different kind of language. Now, you might think that it is only with regard to myth, it is only with regard to the ancient texts that I'm talking about. Now, for example, I don't know if you are familiar with the text Stalin's Children, 3 Generations of Love and War by Owen Matthews. It's a kind of American-Russian novel, a novel that waves in and out of Russia, but it's more on Russia. Now, when you read this novel, we come to a prejudgment that a language reflects the psyche of its people. Now, for example, in Tamil, we used to say, Ethanayavadu. That is our psyche. The English don't think in Ethanayavadu, and therefore there is no equivalence for this word. In the same manner, I'm not well versed in Russian, nor do I know Russian, but this is what the novel says. Let me quote this example so that it reveals to you about the Russian language. Russian has so many reflexive verbs because Russians are pathologically irresponsible. So after reading this, I've come to a conclusion that the language of people, of a certain people, reflects their psychology, reflects their mode of thought. Not only that, reflects their mode of action. In English, for example, you say, I want, I need. So if you want a glass of water while you are having dinner, you just announce, well, I want a glass of water, or I'm in need of a glass of water. But in Russian, it's impossible. You can never ask, I want a cup of water, I want a glass of water. Cannot be uttered in Russian. In Russian, you have to say, the want has risen. The want for water, the need for water has risen You can never ask, I want a glass of water. The Russian language doesn't lend towards such thing. And the book says, reflecting the grammar, it says the psychology of an infantile society. So, philosophically speaking, translation is a challenge because the psychic reflection of the people are mirrored in a language, and the translator is not just translating the subject matter or the culture, but he is translating the psychic makeup of a group of people into or into an understandable form by some other group of people who do not have the same psychic makeup. So just imagine if you were to translate Russian novels, how hard it will be. Now, for example, if you have been exposed to a Tamil novel called Thai, which has been translated from Russian, the reading is very tough. It's not very smooth. Why? It's not only machine translation, but then Russian as a language is very different because the Russians think differently. They behave differently. In this sense, a transfer takes place where the concrete ideas are expressed through arbitrary codes such as language. Maybe, since language is arbitrary, the ancients thought that language was not the best form to communicate to future generations, and they had sculptures in the temple. They built pyramids. We don't know. And we should remember that language is not the only code to transfer ideas, thoughts, or feelings, since there are also other codes available like sculpture, dance, art, etc. Thus, for expressing the concrete through an arbitrary position is by itself a challenge. So, this is one of the most biggest challenges that biblical scholars face in translation. Now, even in understanding the concept of Trinity, 3 in 1, you have one God but 3 personalities, you don't have any answers for that even in the Bible. But then Saint Jerome had put a full stop by telling that he had a vision where a child was digging, near the ocean in the seashore, and it was trying with his small hands to fill the hole with the seawater, and Jerome was taking a walk. So Jerome went to the child and said, "Child, what are you doing for so many hours?" And the child said, "I'm trying to fill the small hole with the entire water in the sea." And Jerome said, "Well, the sea is so big, your hole that you have dug is so small, and how can you fill it up?" And the child vanishes, and it becomes an angel, and it says, "Well, that's what you are trying to do. God's knowledge is so big, but then you are trying to put it and squeeze it into your small head." This is done with Saint Jerome and not with Augustine. I'm very sure about it, because Augustine never dwelt on Trinity. It was Saint Jerome, the person who wrote commentary for the Bible, who was delving into this problem of Trinity. So, when thus the transference of thought into one language is a challenge in itself, the translation from one code or one language to another code or another language is a much greater challenge. So I marvel at Professor Ilango when he put up his translated verses on Facebook. I was just reading and wondering, wow, so great. Because you never felt it was a translation. You felt it was, the first time it was written on his own. Such a natural rendering is something beyond all theories. So in order to overcome this challenge, many theories such as, that principle of equivalence, theory of interpretation, theory of meaning and communication, theory of integration in cultural context, now they can be broader categories. But then I am not satisfied with these theories alone, because translation as such did not just begin with translating the Bible from Greek and Hebrew to English or from Latin to English. No, it is much deeper than that, where they started translating from the original codex. I hope you are aware of this codexes. So there are many codexes, and they were using the original codexes, the codex, to translate. So this is something more and something beyond. So what we are speaking about translation in the academic circle is just a beginning or a beginner's level. But when you move into, the Roman circle in Rome, where they have a good library and where translation goes on, and it's totally breathtaking, because they are translating things from dead old codexes into the live languages. So if translation is seen as a transfer from one linguistic code to another linguistic code, it becomes more similar to the transfer of a codeless, structureless idea into a language which is structured when a person tries to express his or her thoughts through the language that pre-exists them. So language already exists. Me as a human being, I exist in language, and I cannot invent, but I have to go by the rules and regulations. And when idea is transferred to an alien medium known as language, something known as interpretation takes place. And even the listener, not only the speaker, but even the listener, tries to grasp the idea that is behind the language. That's where the phonocentric system establishes the fact that both the speakers and the listener, they try to interpret the idea of the speaker, because both the speaker tries to interpret his idea into an alien medium, and the listener also tries to interpret the language which he or she listens in order to grasp the original meaning of the speaker. So in a phonocentric system, the immediate presence of the speaker is available, where meaning to some extent is identical with itself due to self-immediacy, where the speaker is able to clarify. So self-immediacy in phonocentrism is that of a dialogue between two speakers who are present to each other in a shared time and place. Though no longer immediately identical with itself, meaning can still be recovered as presence. So it is this presence that Heidegger, Gadamer, all these people are talking about as Dessen. Now, recovered as presence due to the extent that both speakers and listeners in dialogue can say exactly what they mean. The meaning intended in their speech can be directly attested to by reference to a commonly experienced context as here and now. So, when this is compared to the act of writing, it becomes a limit experience or an experience of the limits of the living self, and this recognition of writing implies the fact that one leaves a trace that can survive without the presence of its author, without being corroborated by the living agency of its actual inscription. So writing is totally different from speech. By breaking with the phonocentric model of dialogical immediacy of self to self or of self to the other immediately present self, writing exposes us to the alienation of meaning from itself. The inscription of meaning in signs grants it an autonomy and you know, and independence, not just autonomy but also independence from the intention of the original author. That's why you hear like Foucault or Roland Barthes who have announced the death of the author. That doesn't mean, the author dies, but it means the text, the writings have become independent. It sets meaning at a distance from its original presence. It introduces the possibility of other interpretations, quite different to those originally intended. Now, this alienation of meaning is most evident in the fact that written signs can continue to signify in the absence of the author, even after the death of the author. Now, for example, written signs are like, very sorry to say this, illegitimate offspring who have devastated themselves of the authors who originally fathered them. Thus, one could say that writing becomes a cure and a poison. Now, for example, I'm just going back to Plato. Writing for Plato is an evil disease to the degree that it corrupts meaning by removing it from the authoritative presence to itself of the speaker's original intention. It displaces meaning outside of the author, depriving it of its parental tutelage and thus exposing it to error. But meaning is also paradoxically a cure due to its power to be repeated over time. So in this sense, reading and interpretation, which is also translation, are not just reproducing what the writer thought and expressed in the text. What happens is a try to reconstruct a pre-existing non-textual reality of what the writer did or thought to lay alongside the text. So I believe that modern translators are trying for this. They are trying to bring out what lay in that area of non-textual reality, what the author really wanted to tell. When the case is so between converting idea into an alien medium called language, or in converting a phonocentric one into a logocentric one, rendering the text or the original idea from a particular language into another language, is not just an interpretation, but can be seen as double interpretation. So I would say that translation is not simply an interpretation, but translation is double interpretation, because a translator has to interpret what has been already interpreted. And that is very tough. It is even tougher than being a writer. At this juncture, the text that is being translated is done in a context projecting texture of meanings. We should remember that there is no one meaning for anything. There is a texture, a layer of meanings, because language is arbitrary. So in this texture of meanings, it is important to achieve a link between what the text now means and what it meant to its first readers. And if that link is not made effectively, then the translated text will not stand the test of time. So the safest would be to achieve the four-tiered hierarchy of meanings in translation. I hope most of you are familiar with F.R. Lewis. Even though Lewis has not pronounced these four-tiered hierarchy of meanings explicitly, I've gone back to Judaism and the way they interpret the Torah, the mechanism that is used there, and I found that these same four-tiered hierarchies, if they are maintained or if they are sufficiently, addressed, a translator's translation will become much better, even sometimes better than the original text. So of this four-tiered hierarchy, the first one is pishat, or literal and factual meaning. So when a translator translates, his translation should also address first one, pishat, the literal and factual meaning. The second one, rimas. It should also address rimas, R-E-M-A-Z. Rimas is the suggested meaning. So already you have two layers of meaning, the surface level meaning and the deep structure meaning. But then you have a third kind of a thing called derush. meaning arrived after long and careful investigation. So, for example, I hope you know that even still parts of the Bible are being discovered near the Dead Sea. So even parchments and Dead Sea scrolls are being discovered. So Derush's meaning arrived at after long and careful investigation. So this also has to be addressed while a person translates. And the last but not the least is sod, allegorical or inner meaning. Now, for example, when we talk about Purananuru or Ahananuru somewhere, we have a description of Lord Shiva with his hair having madi. Now, madi is Vennira madi abdin varum. Now, that is translated as white moon, but that is not correct because madi also has a second layer of meaning called wisdom. So, if our translation can satisfy at the level of meaning these four tiers of Pishat, Rimas, Derush, and Sod, I believe the translation, whatever it is, will be very holistic and also Sod. Now, only when a piece of translation fulfills all the above four tier, it can be said that the translation has a round meaning. Now, you can go back to, I think, E.M. Foster, who talks about flat characters and round characters. Here, I'm talking about a round meaning, a meaning that is holistic, a meaning that has its meaning within itself, or else the meaning projected by the translated work will only have a flat meaning that is very much two-dimensional. Nowadays, dead literature and culture are revived through translation. It is an impressive afterlife of original creation, a new original in another language. For example, what would anyone have known about the painted ancient Greek classical female Thucydides if it had not been for translation? So we cannot dismiss translation. The translation space is growing. The importance of the socio-cultural aspect of translation is also increasing. Earlier, the focus of scholars was on the relationship between language and the way of life. But the inclination was towards linguistics, when more attention is being paid to the cultural aspects. An ideological relationship has been created between translation and society. I hope I gave you a very good example of how Russian language is different from English. The prevalent norms of translation related literary criticism have changed their meaning nowadays. The most encouraging new trend is the expansion of translation as an independent discipline. In the 1990s, two opposing views emerged about translation. One, according to one, the translator is a good creative artist who mediates intercultural relations. Now, according to the second, It is because it reflects the economic, political, geographical inequalities in the process of text creation. That is, the meaning created by the translation culture can become a submission to oppression, where meaning remains in the cultural tradition made and confirmed by the translated text. This is, we are live on YouTube, am I right? So I think I can just give you an example. This is what is happening in Sri Lanka. This is the reason for the war. How translation oppresses. Please don't ask questions on it. You have to read in between lines and see how a translation can oppress. I can't talk more than this. Now, translation is not only the original creation, but in every region of the world, translation is needed to make communication easy. So nowadays we have a lot of ads on our Facebook that you install some software. So a girl gets into a taxi, she talks in Chinese, and that man is from German or England. So he records it he shows his mobile, she talks into it, and he listens it in a translated version. Well, that is good at superficial level. But this kind of machine translation can never be done for deep structures, for things that you want to have the fourth tier of meaning. So, now translation is not only the original creation, but in every region of the world, translation is needed to make communication easy. But there is a common element in linguistics and translation. Now, for example, I forgot the name of the place. In Sri Lanka, for most places where you have the sound, they are using the d sound. Like, for example, now I'm in Batticaloa, and here you have a place called Ottamavadi. Now, Ottamavadi should be written as O-double-T, Ottamavadi. But instead of using double T, they are using double D, Odamavadi. So, linguistics, is very much related to translation. The scientific study of phonetics of language is called linguistics. And in this, there is a discussion of various terms of the language. Whatever has come in those riders, meanings which are helpful and essential in translation work. So, as expounded by previous speakers, it can be said that translation may be kept away from the dependence of linguistics, yet it will remain attached to it to some extent. So if you want to translate, you cannot negate linguistics. Negating linguistics will be a kind of a suicidal attempt. At this juncture, are you aware of present Bible translations that are going on in India? Now, India has many languages where you don't have scripts. So I have been in personal touch with translators, the Bible translators, who are translating the Bible into, you call them as tribal languages. So most of the tribal languages don't have letters. They don't have an alphabet. Now, what these translators are doing, you will be shocked. They are giving the Roman letters, the Roman script, and the Arabic numerals to these tribal languages. So I've seen many people coming with their own Bible, but it is in English. I mean, the letters are the 26 letters, but it is not English. So it's almost like our, I don't know how to call this translation, but it's almost like our, people typing messages using English letters in Tamil. But then these people who are trying to they study the tribal language and they attribute the sounds to a letter, and they also invent letters. So they go to other languages to see whether they can borrow the script and put it into this tribal language. So I think the dependency between linguistics and translation cannot be, you cannot divorce it. Anyway, it is linked together. The meaning of translation is not to present word for word synonym, but it is considered a proof of the translator's creativity. But when the translator is able to fulfill the earlier mentioned 4 tiers of meaning, the translated work stands in equal footing to that of the original. And sometimes the text, when it has these 4 tiers, when it satisfies these 4 tiers of meaning, only then will be able to produce a texture of meaning in the context of the reader. Thank you.
Thank you. Nidika?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you,
I
sir.
hope,
Thank you, sir.
Now the floor is open for queries. Participants, you can ask questions to sir.
Dear participants, kindly post your questions in the chat box or you can interact directly.
Sir, good evening, sir. It was very interesting to listen to you, sir. Okay, different perception. It was engaging. So you referred to the Russian language as pathologically irresponsible. So
I did not refer, it was a quotation
it
from the
was
book.
quotation. Okay, do we have any such terms for Tamil language or the English language?
Uh, Tamil language is a pure language. So we call it
Yes.
Semmoli. So I take it as it is.
Okay.
But English, no offense for Hindus, English is a very dangerous language like Hinduism.
Oh.
Hinduism is a very dangerous religion. In a sense, Hinduism can accommodate anything and yet it will never change. You say Allah, Allah will become also a Hindu god. Jesus is also, they have place for Jesus. They have place for Mother Mary. They will have place for all the angels. Everyone is accommodated into Hinduism. Yet Hinduism will never change. Just because Hinduism accepts the teachings of Jesus or the things in the Quran, Hinduism will not become Islam or it will not become Christian. It will be Hindu. Now, this is the same kind of a phenomena that English has. English is not like Russian. English blindly borrows from, I don't know, all the languages, and that has been the nature of English, and yet English never changes. So I believe English will never die because English takes words from Tamil, from Chinese, from Hindi. Everything becomes English. Just because English is adapting words from other languages, it doesn't lose its essence. So I find that there is a kind of a similarity between Hinduism and English. Hinduism is never going to die, so is English. How's my analysis, ma'am?
Just absorbing, sir. Okay. Thank you.
So could I come in?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, sir. It was a very enlightening session, and I'm glad today my camera came back because all these days I've been interacting, but then I couldn't come on camera. Colette, ma'am is smiling. I'm happy. So,
Yes, it's nice to see you.
Honored to have you, ma'am.
yeah, I just want to refer to your towards the last, you said that the tribal languages, they don't have script. That's true. They do follow Roman scripts. But I just want, if you can expound a little bit on the statement that you made, that you found it shocking. Why is it so?
Because it was shocking for me because these tribal languages, they were more similar to something like, it's more similar to the Indian other languages. So I was hoping to find something like Hindi or something like Kannada or some other, Indian scripts, not the Roman scripts, because, that's all westernized, occidental. So for me, the so-called learned people,
Not oriental.
taking the occidental stuff and putting into the oriental was really something very shocking. And but these tribal peoples, they were very happy because at least they had a script for them. But then I don't know what to say, because I'm not such an expert to comment on that. But for me, as personally, it was shocking.
Yeah, I'm one of them, sir. I'm a tribal. I'm from Northeast India. And I'm a Christian, so I know about the translation of the Bible. Maybe to really understand about the translation, we will have to go back to our folklore, to our way of life, and to the coming of Christianity, and to the history and the migration of different tribes from different areas and all that. So that will be very long. But I think
study.
that maybe, that will be good because as it is, I understand, sir, you're from Sri Lanka, but then in India itself, the northeastern tribes feel so alienated because whenever we go out, we are called Chinese and all that. And then today I find that it is our translation is very shocking and all that. I mean, it's good to know. That's why I think all the more reason for us to come out of our shells and then to join this kind of programs and then be open and all that. I'm happy that I'm here, although I'm not able to help you, enlighten you with your shocking different mindset, but I don't know. So yeah, all the same, thank you, sir.
I felt shocking because usually we associate this script to the Occidental worldview. French, German,
that's because
uses the script. And
no, when we talk about the tribals in India, sorry, sir. Okay. When we talk about the tribals in India, it's not only the plain tribals. It's the hill tribals that are more in number in terms of population. The whole of Northeast India, barring maybe a few of them in the plains. So there are more tribals there. And then I, as a Christian, I am convinced that it's grace of God. Because of that, the missionaries have come and we've been converted into Christianity, and we didn't have script. And if not for the missionaries, we would have been left, I don't know where. Today we have the script because of them. We are into education. At first, of course, education was started by them, but now, of course, we are going all over India, getting ourselves educated and all that. So we most of the tribes in Northeast are not of what we call not associated with any mainland communities. Many of the tribes in Northeast are akin to people in China, in Tibet, maybe, that's how the story is. Maybe from our looks also we can make out. Anyway, I don't want to stress this any further, but I just want to make my presence felt. I'm from Meghalaya, sir.
Good.
From Meghalaya. Land of the
Good evening,
home of the
good evening, Professor.
Good evening, sir.
I just would like to talk after that Professor from Meghalaya spoke to you.
Yeah.
I was in Nagaland for more than 5 years.
Wow.
And I was the St. Joseph's University in Dimapur, Nagaland. We never use this word tribal. We always call them indigenous people. Indigenous people.
Just try to mute somebody.
Tribal is a bit kind of.
No, we always call them indigenous people because, they are known for their indigenous knowledge. So, I never use that word tribal.
Okay.
I respect those people because of the indigenous knowledge they have. And I just wanted to make a mention of that particular. And I never use that word tribal.
Good.
Even I never say tribal provision. It's the provision for the indigenous people, even in the admissions or even the job. Because I know most of the IAS officers were trained in Chennai, MCC or WCC and all those things. Okay. Thank you, sir. I just want to say that.
Thank you. Anyway, your outlook is very positive.
Thank you.
It creates a positive vibe also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And I wanted to tell something, adding to all those things. I had, a person called P.V. Rajagopal who came all the way to Sri Lanka. And we were traveling on a car. And he started suddenly reading Sinhala. And he said, this looks like our Indian tribal languages. He was mentioning a language. He said, they have, in that tribal language, this letter is shaped inside, but they have put it outside. And he was able to find out a lot of similarities. So I think most of our South Asian languages are interrelated, whether they are indigenous or mainline, or like Tamil, we may call them Kaltondri, Mantondra, Kalathala Vanda Moli, Abdin Sunnalo. I find that all these things are interrelated. And so I had another professor called Dr. Ananda Kumar who came here suddenly and he said, this looks like the Tamil round script, Sinhala. Just remember, a country that has been fighting for over 30 years, suddenly someone comes and says, Sinhala is the Chola round script. So now students, I've started asking them to work on it. So language and translation is something that is very essential today to build communities towards peace and justice. That's something that I forgot to share.
Sir, you have a question from Dr. Priti Rai from Scott Christian College. Sir, is it translation that the work from source language to the target tribal languages? I mean, talking the heart, the crux, and transcreating without changing the basic structure like Tagore's noble work.
Okay. with regard to the translation of the Bible, it is not just, you can't call it, just like a transcreation, because the translators usually tend to translate from the original text. And let me bring you something else into this context. Now, we, modern societies, we have, or we use the thought which is very exclusive. We exclude, all our system is very exclusive. We want to exclude people. We want to exclude on various things. But the archaic societies are very inclusive. So Christianity, which as the Old Testament, also is very inclusive, and therefore in translating the text, it is not just a transcreation as such, but it is, I don't know how to call it, because this inclusivity also has to be brought or rendered into the target indigenous language. So this is not like you cannot, it's not like changing the basic structure, because if you take the Bible, the translation is really very magical. For example, you may take the English and the Tamil translation. Now, the English was done from the original source, and the Tamil, the Bauer translation, I'm not taking the new one because I've got quarrels with the new translation of the Bible, because I've been at Kodaikanal when I was a schoolboy, talking to all these translators. And when you take Bauer and KJV, there is similarity. Even sentences, words, verses, it's exactly one-to-one equated similar. Now, how could this happen? So maybe like the professor from Northeast, like she said, it's a miracle. So I wouldn't say that it was like the heart and crux of transcreation. This is something more than that with regard to the Bible. This is not like Tagore's Gitanjali. This is not transcreation. This is like, I don't know what to say. It is more than that. It is more than transcreation. In fact, there is one verse in the Bible which says that all words in the Bible are not without a pair. See, Bible itself lays down so many rules. And even in all the translations, you can identify the pairs. You don't need to be a theologian. If you know how to read and write, that's enough. So transcreation may be for text authored by human being is fine, but when these are on divine inspiration, I think that's at a different level. So I don't know, like, I'm really very sorry. I don't know how to equate it. Have I answered your question?
I think Kannadasan's Yesu Kavyam is the perfect example of what Professor said just now. It's a kind of an inspiration.
Yes.
Though he was a Hindu, he was able to translate that into a poetic version, Yesu Kavyam.
I see.
Yeah, that can be a creation, Kannadasan's Yesu Kavyam.
Yeah, it's a transcreation, sir. Yeah.
And at the same time, I don't know if any of you have the exposure to a Bible called the Jerusalem Bible?
Yes, sir.
Not the,
Yes.
not
I
the.
gone through that.
Do you have a copy, ma'am?
Yes, I do have it. I do
You
have
mean
it.
the New Jerusalem
The
Bible or
Generally,
the Jerusalem Bible?
Jerusalem Bible. Of course, I do have the King James version of 16th century, 17th century. I mean, along with that, I do have Jerusalem Bible, sir. Basically, it is from the Catholic people, and it has
No,
got a very exhaustive notes also.
but no, I want to know whether you have the New Jerusalem or the Jerusalem.
It's the New Jerusalem Bible, sir.
No, I am talking about the Bible without that new,
No,
because I
sir.
saw it once,
I
and you
see.
will be shocked. The entire Jerusalem Bible is
I
written
see.
in poetic form.
I
When
see.
when you are reading, when you are looking at it, you will get all the elements of poetry in there.
I see. I
And
see.
I don't know. There is one professor of civil engineering called Mr. Sugunaseelan. He was in Madurai. Now he retired and he settled in, I think, Tirunelveli or Palayam Kottai. I think in Palayam Kottai. Uh, he has that Bible, the Jerusalem Bible. And I wanted at least to take a photocopy, but then he thought that I would damage it and he did not lend it to me. But then, the whole Bible is scripted in poetic form. When you read, it's not prose, it's poetry. So that might be a transcreation too.
And sir, Professor Daphne Orangeberry has got an observation and a question. It was nice listening to your lecture, sir. Sir, you mentioned in your lecture that they had limited vocabulary and language structure when they translated the Bible, Bhagavad Gita, and other books. Do you think different translations of the same text distorts the essence of the original? For example, the Bible is the most translated text in the world.
Uh, if those 4 tiers of meanings are satisfied by the translator, there won't be any distortion of meaning.
Yes.
I talked about 4 tiers of meaning, am I right? If a translator is able to satisfy that, there won't be any distortion. But if the translator is going to put something of himself, something of his own understanding, which is very artificial, into the translated text, then there might be distortions. Ma'am, what happened to Ilungo, sir?
Sir is here, sir. Sir, Ilango sir? Ilango sir?
This time when I went to India, I got his blessings.
Oh, very good, sir. Ilango sir? 1 minute. Let me call him.
So let me thank you profusely, sir, for your wonderful explanation. And yeah, as you said, it's a faithful reproduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome. Now, someone says that the translator has to be objective, but I think you need to visit Edmund Husserl with
Yes, sir.
regard to objectivity and subjectivity.
I see.
So that is the being objective is, or being subjective is something, a big topic, which I cannot do via Zoom because it might get very confusing, like phenomenology. Because phenomenology, like if you are reading it, you may not understand. But let me try this out. Let's say, I am called Rohan, but my parents have named me Rohan, okay? But I am not Rohan. What I say that if I die, my dead body is not called Rohan. Am I right? So I'm talking about that I. That I is the subject. Everything else is the object. My hair, my skin color, my education, all those things, okay? And all of you, even the table, the chair, the laptop, everything is object. Now, I know nothing about myself, okay? I know nothing about the object. With an intention, I interact with an object. Now, let's say the object is Rani ma'am, Professor Rani. Now, I have an intention that she will give me a plate of mutton biryani. So, with that intention, I am interacting to Rani, Professor Rani. So, what happens? Professor Rani gives me a plate of mutton biryani. And I say, wow, Professor Rani is such a good person. Now, tomorrow, the same object, Professor Rani, same subject, I. Now, I want a, let's say, gold necklace. So, with this intention, I'm talking to Professor Rani, same object, same subject. And what happens? She says no. And I say, oh, Professor Rani is very bad. Now, people listening to me might say, sir, which is true? Is Professor Rani good or bad? Now, both are true. Yesterday she was good and today she is bad. I'm not telling lies. Now, what is truth? When the subject interacts with an object through an intention, there emerges something called experience, where I know nothing about the object, I know nothing fully about myself, so I know only about this experience, and I call this experience as truth. So whenever this intention changes, my experience changes, and the truth also will change. That is why in postmodernism, you have many truths, not one universal truth. Now, if you are going to analyze this interaction, putting your feelings into it, it is subjective. Now, if you are going to analyze the same interaction without or detaching yourself away from it, or without attaching your feelings to it, it is objective. Now, this subject and object, you can go on substituting the reader, the text.
Yes.
Get the point?
Yes,
Then
yes,
it
sir.
becomes leader response theory. You have
Yes, sir.
feminism, you put man and woman. Then it becomes feminism.
Yes.
So, this is a sharp break from the classical thinking and the modern ones.
Oh.
So I think when you say the translation has to be objective, yes, the translator's personality or emotions should not be part of the translated work.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
So with phenomenology, using it, that's how I look at it. But there are others who try to give a different meaning for objectivity, which is rather wrong. I don't know.
Exactly, sir. I go in line with
It's
you.
supposed to be so blunt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you,
A
sir. Thank you
subject.
so much.
Yes. Subject a subject from the given position perceives an aspect of the object. A subject from the given position perceives an aspect of the object. So my precept is conditioned by my percept. So where I am, how am I conditioned? So nobody is absolutely a free thinker, you see. So my thinking is conditioned by my position. My position is a combination of so many things. That's what phenomenology says. So this phenomenology sometimes becomes perceptual ambiguity. What I see, what I mean, may be mistaken. You see, translation is a very important thing about that. By the way, Rohan, it is an excellent session. Yeah. So much clarity and authenticity. I'm very happy to be here. Carry on. I will be here.
I hope you'll be very proud that I'm one of your best students. Thank you for your blessing.
Tell them about Rashomon film.
Okay, sir. So, any more questions?
Somebody's sharing from their mobile, Rani.
Yes, Lavanya ma'am, can you stop sharing?
So, thank you, organizers and team, for the wonderful area. Sir, session was wonderful. Thank you very much for your discussion and the wonderful clarifications. Okay. It's all thank you messages. So I should thank all the participants and eminent people Professor Johnson and all, who have had exposures that are unimaginable and who have enlightened me. So this has also become a learning experience for me, and to be with such a wonderful crowd today evening is really wonderful, and I thank all of you for hosting me here tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Benedicta.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir,
sir.
for patiently addressing our queries.
Thank you so much.
To bring this enriching session and 6-day faculty development program to a close, may I now invite Dr. Kaulat Sharmila to propose the vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Good evening, everybody. John F. Kennedy said, as we express gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is to live by them. On behalf of the PG and Research Department of English, V.O.Chidambaram College, Thoothukudi, I am doubly humbled to propose the vote of thanks before this academic audience. With awesome wonder, I thank the Almighty for His abundance in the successful conduct of this faculty development program. Thank you, Lord. I express my deep sense of gratitude to our Honorary Secretary, Thiru APCV Chokalingam Sir, for his continuous acknowledgements in all our academic ventures. Thank you, sir. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our most revered principal, Dr. C. Veerabahu, for being a co-architect in all our academic endeavors. Thank you, sir. My heartfelt thanks are due to all our eminent resource persons, Dr. Manu Mangatu, Dr. Jayaraj John Shegar, Dr. Mahendran Maniam, Professor Ilango, Dr. T. Marks, and Dr. J.S. Rohan Savarimuthu for their erudite, insightful presentations. Thank you, sirs, for being the torchbearers to ignite and enrich us. My sincere thanks to Dr. P.D. Sylvia, Head, Department of English, V.O.Chidambaram College, for her unstinting support in all our academic initiatives. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to place on record a big thank you to our vibrant participants. Your energy and your intellectual appetite has made this faculty development program a resounding success. Thank you, dear all. I profoundly thank
Professor Gomadi Nayagam, Head, Department of Computer Science, V.O.Chidambaram College, for his magnanimous technical assistance from day one. Thank you so much, sir. I thank all my faculty friends from our department for lending a helping hand in the smooth conduct of this program. Thank you, friends. A big thank you to the organizing secretaries for their tireless efforts, creative coordination, and meticulous teamwork. Hats off to you, dear professors. As we conclude this program, let us cherish the erudite moments and connections forged. May this faculty development program serve as a catalyst for future collaborations and research. Thank you and good night. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Oh,
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Hi, Priya.
I would like to thank the organizing team for this meticulous efforts. And first of all, let me thank God for sustaining us for all these 6 days and make this program a successful one. And I would like to thank Benedicta also, who had been moderating this program from day one till today.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you, every one of you who participated. And my special thanks to you people, College Sharmila, Dr. College Sharmila, Dr. Rani Priyadarshini, Dr. Ananda Vaishnavi, Dr. Priya, yes, Priya, and Benedicta too. Thank you all. Thank you again. Good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, ma'am. Are you there?
Yes, thank you all. It was really very interesting. In the
Sudha,
whole week, I have been engaging with an intellectual field.